Hello and welcome to the CDO magazine interview series. I'm Suki Dhuphar with Tamr. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Johnson, the CIO at Old Mutual. Old Mutual is undergoing a major shift in its data strategy to better serve its customers. Part of this shift involves using machine learning. Johnson and I are going to talk about why Old Mutual is making this move, how to implement change at a company, and how these changes benefit customers. Johnson, thank you very much for joining me, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Just to start with, could you talk about why Old Mutual is changing its data strategy? And as an established company, I'm sure you had existing processes in place.
Thank you, Suki. It's a pleasure to be here. Of course, we did. We had a data strategy in place, but as the saying goes, one must move with the times. Data is a cornerstone of any digital transformation, and as a business committed to digitalization, it was actually quite natural for us to have this focus on data. We've long moved on from viewing digital just as a channel or a front end. It's more a way of being as an organization for us.
Excellent. One of the sort of changes that you've implemented has been around machine learning. Now, machine learning is a buzzword. And daunting for some, as you well know. How did you go about this? Why did you choose machine learning as a way to clean data for your organization?
I think the simplest way I can answer this is our strategy actually made it right for us to use this technology, by which I mean we're an organization that's committed to differentiating ourselves based on the customer experience we deliver. And therefore, it naturally follows with that mindset that any technology we believe will help us achieve this purpose, we would pursue. Now, many of us in technology, I think it's fair to say, struggle to keep up with what's possible today. It changes so quickly. And imagine how that feels if one's not a technologist. But the inherent danger, if one doesn't keep up, is that you spend your life optimizing something that should no longer exist. So you need a degree of curiosity in order to avoid that. So if we take data mastering, which we're talking about today, I mean, clearly understanding our customers and our relationships to our customers and relationships customers have with each other and with trust, etc., is really critical to how we serve them. And before machine learning, we had humans create the rules and the machine applied the rules quite bluntly. And there was really no opportunity to adapt or learn unless you got a human to write a new rule. So, I mean, in 2019, our now CEO and myself, we were on an immersion with a technology partner, and we thought to ourselves then, we had the curiosity that says, there must be a better way of doing this. And that's when we started thinking about human-assisted machine learning, and we felt this has got to be much more accurate and quicker. And I can tell you absolutely today that the resounding answer to that is yes, it is.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing to hear, especially, we've been on this journey for a year as well. And just to see that sort of the outcomes, the success that we're trying to achieve together, but always underpinning sort of that technology and as you say, in that curiosity. Both you and I have been here. We've seen this happen many a times. The hardest thing to do, right, is to change mindsets. It's to change people. And technologies can be great and whatever have you, and strategies can be great, but they're not successful without people. How did you go about changing that kind of mindset, changing people, and bringing them on this particular journey?
I'm going to make it sound really easy, but as you said, it's actually very, very hard. I would say we've done a number of things quite well. We started by creating belief in our teams, belief that there is a alternative reality that's possible, and belief that we could do it, and belief that we could find a partner who could help us do it. Then there's this curiosity I've talked about, that there is a better way, one can explore it. Now, once you create that curiosity, of course, as a leader, you've got to give the sponsorship and the time and the space for people to explore. So I think we've done all of those three things. We've allowed our technical teams to build their understanding of the technology. That's really important. I will stress that. And we've also allowed them to build deep relationships with Tamr as our partner. And again, I would stress that that's really, really important. But the final thing that we've done very deliberately is we've celebrated every single small success that we've had, because it builds belief. It's a strong signal to the organization that you can do things differently. So the very first thing we did with Tamr technically was a proof of concept, which we did in under 3 months. And we showed the outcomes of that very widely across our organization, right up to and including our board. Now, all of this then creates a cycle because you create more curiosity and you create more sponsorship and you create greater belief. So as I said, I make it sound easy. There are a number of quite deliberate actions there, and not much I've said really relates to core technology itself. But I hope that gives some insights to how we thought about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the beauty. Trying to make it sound easy is the beauty of it. So that's a true sign of really making the team come on a journey, because as we make it more complex, it becomes harder for people to understand. The harder it is for people to understand, the less likely they're meant to be on the journey. So I've worked out two things. You're a technologist and a psychologist at the same time, right? That's really good. I mean, and there's a reason why we're doing all this, right? So there's a reason why you go down this particular journey. And I know you've mentioned it, and I've actually loved it. I think you brought me on this as well, from the other side, which was you're doing this for a better outcome for your customers. It's for a much better experience for your customers. I mean, how well do you think? I know it's a journey, but how do you help other people sort of understand and meet these goals that you're trying to achieve? Because that sounds like such a big goal to make a better journey for a customer. Sounds like a simple thing to say, but it's very complex underneath. How do you bring everybody in on this, and how did you kind of, how are you implementing these changes to meet these goals?
I'll start by saying, at Old Mutual, we believe that we've got one of the world's greatest financial services brands. So we start from that deep belief. Then we also start with a deep sense of purpose. And here I'm talking about our organization's purpose, which is to help our customers thrive, to achieve their lifetime financial goals. So therefore, when I put this in context, sure, we want more customers to choose to have more needs met with us. If we're candid about it commercially, that's a real benefit. But the real reason we're actually doing this is that deep belief that Old Mutual is unique amongst our competition in being able to help our customers achieve their goals. So this work that we're doing with Tamr, I always remind everyone, is just another example of what I keep referring to as purpose-led technology. You've got to have people who understand the why behind what you're trying to do, and don't just see it as merely modern technology or straightforward commercials. And I'm not for 1 second saying commercials aren't important. They are. We're a commercial entity, but one's got to dig deep and understand the purpose of your company and your brand, and how technology is enabling you to live that day in, day out.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think a lot of companies that are successful do lead with the customer, right? They're thinking about the customer. They start with the customer in mind. This is where companies done really well with customer experience and so on and so forth. So, with that in mind, again, going back to your sort of previous comments around, technology is important. People have to come on this journey together. This all kind of knits in very, very well. I mean, in doing this, I know one of the things that I've been really excited with within the journey that we've taken is just the drive to action. We've had a really purpose-led, action-filled sort of year that we've been working together. And it seems like we've been working together for our lifetimes, right? Not just a year. But all of this comes to a point where you're doing this for a particular purpose. But does it also help with other things like retention? I mean, I have to say you've put together a great team. It's a recognition of your leadership that your team is good. But does it help with sort of recruiting and retention in terms of bringing people in on this journey? Having things like machine learning as a part of it, and also an objective as well, a value-led objective.
Oh, absolutely. It helps our brand. I constantly remind ourselves we've got the word old in our company name. And when you think about this as an example of what we're doing, it's anything but old. It's actually really quite bold. So it definitely helps us from a number of fronts. It definitely helps us attract partners. And I think it's obvious to say it helps us attract technology partners, but it also helps us attract financial services partners, because people can see we're a forward-thinking company with forward-thinking capability that makes it easier to actually do business with us. So that definitely is an advantage for us. And then to the talent question, most definitely. People are drawn to purpose, and people are definitely drawn towards modern methods of work, modern technology, etc. And I think, let's be fair, most technology professionals are going to choose to work in an organization with purpose that is using the most modern technology. So the sort of work we've done with yourselves, Tamr, and we do with machine learning, AI, etc., all really help us with our profile, which is positive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you can imagine, we sort of look at other customers and see the same sort of, try and compare and contrast where people are. But I definitely have to say, like, one of the things that has come out, and maybe you can sort of dig a little deeper into this particular one. I was talking to a group of CDOs a little while back from all different places, all different organizations. And they mentioned this thing about data maturity within an organization, and I was quite surprised, as they were mentioning this, there wasn't that much data maturity. They had a CDO function and so on and so forth, but from top to bottom, all the way through, they didn't think about data as being an intrinsic part of their business. You definitely do. All right, you as a person, but your organization definitely do, and your maturity is definitely higher. I've seen some of the sort of use cases that you built. What tips and tricks and advice can you give others who are thinking about increasing their data maturity within an organization, similar to what you've done?
I think it goes back to almost my first comment. We've come to realize at Old Mutual that data is the cornerstone to a digital transformation. And I think it's fair to say that's a realization that grows on you. And I wouldn't claim that we started there. We probably started, like most of the companies, thinking of digital more as a channel. But once you understand really what becoming a digital business means, you start to understand the importance of data. So I would say for us, that's been the most critical thing. Now, we've also been through these stages where we measure maturity, etc. And as stepping stones, I think they're fine. But I think the core thing is go back to your purpose, understand the role of digital transformation in meeting your purpose. And almost inevitably, when you understand that, I think it's natural one comes to understand that data is going to be your cornerstone. And then really the mindset in the organization overall starts to change. You start to understand, really, it's an overused phrase, but you start to understand it's a really strategic asset that will help you meet your purpose and compete in the market.
That's fantastic, Johnson, and I absolutely agree and concur. I mean, this is why we're in this business, right? So, but absolutely, it is the cornerstone, and I think a lot of organizations are starting to think that particular way. I think you've seen all the changes that are happening around the world, and maybe the pandemic we went through accelerated some of this. The move to cloud, the use of technologies. People are now a lot more connected, and definitely our customers are smarter. Right. Yes. And that's something that we've got to really take into consideration. Our customers are smarter. They're looking at their data in a particular way. So, the journey you're on and what you've done has been truly outstanding. And I know it's typical of you. You're looking at the next mountain, right? So to climb. And I can't wait to sort of climb that mountain with you again, Johnson. So thank you for joining me today. Right. Pleasure. And for everybody else, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews.